Hello, this is Sorin from the future. It's currently in the middle of the night. I stayed up far too late trying to make this video. Just a quick introduction. I am playing Tomorrow Will Be Dying. It is a prologue of a game that is currently hopefully late into development. But you can find the prologue on itch.io. The game is made by Team Robo, and keep an eye out for the full version coming soon. This will be just the first half of the prologue. There is more. If you want me to play more of it, let me know. But yeah, check out the game, support the devs, and enjoy the video. Bye. Hello, this is Sorin. Just doing a quick late night recording. This is Tomorrow Will Be Dying, the prologue. I sing of brooks, of blossoms, birds and bowers, of April, May, of June and July flowers. I sing of maypoles, hawk carts, wassails, wakes, of bridegrooms, brides, and of their bridal cakes. I write of youth, of love, and have access by these to sing of cleanly wantonness. I sing of dews, of rains, and piece by piece, of balm, of oil, of spice and ambergris. I sing of times transshifting, and I write how roses first came red and lilies white. I write of groves, of twilights, and I sing the court of Mab and of the fairy king. I write of hell, I sing and ever shall, of heaven and hope to have it after all. The argument of his book, Robert Herrick. In a few minutes, we will be arriving at the Mokuzai terminal. Harry glances up from her phone to look at the sign inside the train. Sure enough, Mokuzai is displayed in a large electronic orange characters. She takes out her earbuds and taps her phone to pause the audiobook playing, a pink fake nail clacking against the screen. After ensuring she has everything with her in her pockets and bags, she stretches out her limbs, letting out a soft hum of satisfaction. The journey here was quite the chaotic one, whether dealing with the poorly concealed gawking of passers-by, getting lost in the gigantic wave of bodies pushing her to and fro, or leaving all of her belongings on the express train. She is exhausted with it all. Sitting here in this empty, run-down train with nothing but its rattling ambience to accompany her, a refreshing feeling washes over her like a gentle tide. Eri loves nights in Tokyo filled with bright, colorful lights, bustling crowds, and an undying liveliness. But there is something she misses about quiet nights in Mokuzai, where the only thing you can see are your own 2 feet. One reason she can indubitably name for this is that she misses her family back home. Visions of their small fishing business by the sea floats in her head, and a warm feeling spreads throughout her chest. I hope they've been doing all right without me. Eri smiles to herself, fiddling with the whale phone charm that they gifted her on the day of her departure to Tokyo. Playing with her charm like this strikes a chord from deep within, the action vaguely reminding her of something, someone, pulling forth a face she hasn't thought about in a long time. Her mind is suddenly filled with visions of short black hair that danced in the wind and stoic yet gentle eyes. An image that was nearly forgotten until these memories of her time in Mokuzai came flooding back. It was probably illogical how often and how easily Eri linked her hometown with that particular verdant gaze. Whenever Eri happened to come across her, Ashikaga Shion, by her lonesome, the other would be playing with her magical girl phone charm just like this, seemingly unbothered by the fact that she was alone. And yet, if Eri squinted, she could find an air of sadness past that vacancy, at the edge of that isolated sphere. Eri rubs a thumb over her now warmed whale phone charm, allowing herself to reminisce over the enigmatic individual under the blaze of the setting summer sun, amidst the cries of the evening cicadas. One of their school's mysteries, albeit a rather asinine one, was unraveled. And on that day, Eri was set into motion. Eri explored a multitude of hobbies growing up. Track and field happened to be the one to stick when she explored the different clubs in her first year of high school. With that being said, when Eri pursued something, she would always put 100% into it. She genuinely loved running. She loved it more than anything else in the world at the time. Everyone always said she had one-track mind, but it was thanks to that one-track mind that she brushed off any such mean-spirited statements. Which is why, even when carrying big stacks of yellow cones to the sports field, she couldn't help but run. The June sun beating against her back even in the early morning. As she started placing cones throughout the field, she heard the rattling of the fence behind her. Turning around, she was greeted with the sight of her little brother, Masaru, climbing over it. Masaru! She threw the rest of her cones aside and sprinted towards him. Even with her speed, he'd already reached the top of the fence by the time she was there. He then jumped, grabbed onto a nearby tree branch, and promptly swinging down from it, landed nimbly on his feet. How many times have I told you not to come into school that way? You could just sneak in through the gates. It's faster, he shrugged. Eri had no idea where he got his brusque attitude from, and she had even less of an idea where he got the inkling to dye the ends of his hair. Not missing a beat, he took off his blue Randoseru backpack and brought out a lunchbox wrapped in a fish pattern cloth. The tag on the corner of said cloth had Eri's name on it. "You forgot your lunch this morning." "Ah, Thanks, Masaru. She sighed and took it from his hands. Eri was relied on for preparation of the entire family's lunches and had been carried away with a whirlwind of busy work. She quickly unwrapped the cloth and checked on the box's contents, relieved to find each carefully prepared side dish remained accounted for. Any desire to scold her brother dissipated, and instead she almost burst into tears at the sight. Alright, adios. He saluted and began to climb up the tree, but Eri spotted something stuck at the bottom of his sneaker and swiftly grabbed his ankle. Wait. What? He quietly hissed back, backlit by the sun beyond the tree leaves. Trusting her brother's grip on the branch, she turned his foot over and stared bewilderingly at the dusty sole. Or, more specifically, something stuck to it. What? I said. It's... Eri hesitated, for some reason opting to shield the offending item from her brother's supposedly innocent eyes. In the heat of the moment, she thought she might also dispose of it before he could unconsciously track bits into his elementary school. It's a cigarette, a new voice said, matter-of-factly. Having nearly jumped out of her skin, Eri checked over her shoulder to identify the speaker. Ninja! Standing there was the track team captain, Tsukimi. She wouldn't bat an eyelash at Masaru, being used to him randomly appearing at club practices every now and then, but Eri couldn't help but panic. Captain, this isn't what you think. Eri stammered wildly as she tried to get the cigarette out of Tsukimi's line of sight. Her effort only led to Masaru's foot slamming into her face as it jerked from being twisted about unnaturally. There's no use hiding it. Look at your feet. Eri, still gingerly pinching the crushed butt between her fingers, did as she was told and let her eyes fall to the grassy patch under her feet. She was surprised to find cigarette remains scattered all around. I've been seeing these collect by this tree for the past few days. I did mean to report it to a teacher, but it slipped my mind. What with that track meet being just around the corner. Eri nodded understandingly, relieved to have avoided an unnecessary lecture. Well, you should get it done sooner or later. There's no way I'm letting some hooligans get away with throwing cigarettes at this poor tree. Agreed. Which is why you'll be going in my stead. You were the one who locked up the equipment shed yesterday, right? I was just about to set up some hurdles when I noticed some equipment was missing, Tsukimi stated, looking straight at Eri with scrutinizing gaze. One of the pole vaulting poles. What? No way. You're saying it was my fault? We're also missing track spikes and jumping boxes. Obara, Eri's underclassman and shot put extraordinaire, added helpfully. Tsukimi raised a brow and simply placed her fists on her hips, admonishingly. Eri began to sweat under her stare. There's no way I'm scatterbrained enough to have left the shed unlocked, she thought. However, the captain's cold eyes led her to doubt her own memory. Her suspicion wouldn't have been baseless either. Last month it was a whole pack of relay buttons. This was particularly serious, however, as they only had one other extra vaulting pole. Tsukimi finally relented, turning away with a sigh. I'm not trying to be mean. In circumstances like this, I have to consider all options. Either way, the others will more than likely place the blame on you, so it's in your best interest to figure out the equipment issue. Might as well report the cigarettes at the office while you're there. Having said her piece, Tsukimi left and began setting up for practice. Obara gave Eri a shrug and shortly followed suit. Seriously, why are you so forgetful? You're still here? Eri's gaze followed Masaru's finger, pointing to his foot, which she'd been holding onto the entire time, squeezing it as if it was a stress ball. Once she released his leg with a murmured, "Oops," she could clearly see the handprint she'd left imprinted on his skin. Now freed from her grasp, Masaru climbed up the tree like a monkey, and once he found a stable footing on the top of the metal fence, he called out to his sister. I know you're gonna beat yourself up over the small mistake like this, so just clear your name and everything will be fine. Fight for a better day. That's what you always say, right? Masaru flashed a small smile before hopping down from the fence and sauntering off. After a few seconds of watching him leave and making sure he was walking the correct direction towards the elementary school, Eri laughed, threw her nose, and jogged towards the field, helping set up the rest of the equipment as more Trek team members filtered in. All right, we'll look into it, the teacher Saki-sensei said while jotting down the final notes of the report. Picking up on his dismissive tone, Eri reiterated the price of the missing tools. Oh no, I get it. It's just, considering how these things have turned out in the past. He trailed off and turned towards the window, airing himself out by the shirt collar. Damn sure is hot these days. Oi, Koizumi. Since you're here, why don't we discuss your science grades? Eri unconsciously jerked back at the sudden, full frontal attack. Oh, what she would subject herself to in the obedience to her captain. Pop quiz for you. How many Earths would it take to fit into the sun? I'll give you a hint. The sun is massive. Hey, I almost forgot. You know that plum tree by the fence? We found some cigarettes around there. Isn't that tree like a national treasure or something? Cigarettes, huh? He stretched, and after leaning back in his chair, let out a short but exhausted groan. Must be Sakai. Either her or the other one. The bad Ashikaga. The bad Ashikaga? Oh, sorry. There's 2 Ashikagas in the school, so I say this to avoid confusion. You should know her. The track team dropout, he sighed. No relation or anything, by the way. Eri then recalled something she'd heard a few months ago on the track field. Did you hear? Did you hear? What? Apparently, Ashikaga has started hanging out with the delinquent girl. What, you mean the tea ceremony girl? No way. Right? I wonder how things ended up like that. I mean, what a waste of talent, right? Hey, that's enough rumor mongering, you two. You'll never break records wasting time like that. Once the bell signifying lunch period rang out, Ari went straight to investigating. She'd already confirmed that her friends, with whom she'd usually eat lunch with, knew very little about the two suspects pointed out by Saki-sensei. She'd never imagined she could scarf down a massive lunch like hers while sleuthing around, and was quite impressed with herself afterwards. Oh, the tea ceremony girl? If anyone stole your track and field equipment, it would be her. Yeah, that crazy girl threw Saki-sensei's lunchbox out the school. The occult club. You've never heard of it? How's that even possible? Your former prince is part of it, you know? I see them make trouble all over the place, so I'm not really sure where they hang out. You could try asking that Hatogaki Koji guy, though. He's in the same class as Ashikaga. I think he's a class rep. I see them talking every so often. Hatogaki Koji. I remembered him being a big deal about justice and such during his run for student president. Ashikaga? Why ask me? I heard from a reliable source that you two talk from time to time. You're the class rep, aren't you? It makes sense that you would be keeping tabs on... you know. No? He said very slowly while glancing around. Wait, you're not? But my reliable source. People just assume that because I pick up on our actual representative's slack. It's a real hassle. Huh. Hold on. Does that mean you're actually friends with Ashikaga? Even better. You've got to know where she hangs out at lunch at least. Friends? I'm not really sure I'd say that either. Hatogaki became noticeably fidgety. A bead of sweat trickled down his temple. I guess I've noticed that every time lunch starts, she makes a beeline for the door and goes upstairs. But that's it, he mumbled, scratching his cheek while staring intently at the floor. The stairs. Either she was heading to the third-year classrooms, or she would climb all the way to the top, the rooftop. Gotcha, thanks. So you really don't know anything else? How about someone called Sakai? I heard she was part of the tea ceremony club before it closed down last year. I don't know anything about that gorilla. Now excuse me, I should be heading back to class. And hiding his unnaturally pale face, he shuffled off robotically. For some reason, she could sense some sort of shame from him, but didn't dwell on it. Almost breaking into a run in the hallway, something that she's been getting into trouble many times in the past, she made her way up the stairs 2 steps at a time. thanks to team members and classmates that made it their business to keep track of such things. She, on her part, had no idea the school even had such a club until just moments ago. Eri managed to find herself face to face with one of the named delinquents on the stairs leading to the rooftop. So, are you accusing me of stealing it? No, it's nothing like that. She certainly didn't look the part of the delinquent that had been built up. Even so, Eri began to falter under the pressure of Sakai's gaze, which she could swear was piercing right through her half-baked lie. Such an icy cold glare, Eri thought. Maybe all those rumors were true after all. Well, I'm listening. She'd enacted it in her mind on the way over. "You hooligan!" she'd shout out, pointing her finger of justice at the evil doer, who'd melt into a puddle and confess on the spot. Eri inwardly scoffed at herself for thinking even for a moment she could stand up for any cause, and resorted to Plan B, the much more realistic course of action. You're a part of an occult club, right? What of it? I was hoping you could do something to help me find it, you know? Don't you guys, consult ghosts or something? Eri stammered, saying the first thing she could think of. No, I can't say we've done anything like that. Though, our club is still young. Eh? Well, that's fine. What do you do, if you don't mind me asking? Nothing really. If you want, maybe I can forward your request to our club president. Your story is exactly the type to get him all riled up. Oh, better yet, you could tell him yourself. Eri reluctantly followed the head of cascading hair down the hallway to an unused classroom, only to find the door wouldn't open no matter how hard they pulled. Sakai pressed her ear against it to listen in, stepped back with a sigh, and then tapped her foot impatiently. I can come back another day. Ignoring her, Sakai started banging on the door and called out in a loud voice, "Hey, Prez, I know you're in there. Open up." Hey, are you sure he's really in? Call it a supernatural intuition. Be right back. Please wait right here. Sakai returned with a paper fan and something wrapped in tinfoil. Just watch quietly. Sakai set that something down on the ground and started fanning the scent towards the door. Sniffing, Eri finally identified that something as a baked potato. Soon enough, the door unlocked and slid open. You just can't resist, can you? An unassuming, sleepy-looking boy stumbled out from the dark room, but froze upon realizing he'd been tricked. Eri silently played spectator as the probable president lifted his eyes, only to be greeted by a wicked grin. With a a flick of a wrist, Sakai dramatically clacked her fan shut, causing the boy opposite her to blink. Don't be too angry with me, Press. You wouldn't answer any of our calls, so this is the only way I could get through to you. I won't reprimand you, as long as I get to eat that, he said heavily. Help yourself. As if a ravenous wolf, he tore off the tinfoil and dove face first into that piping hot potato. Thanks, Sakurai-san, he said with a burnt tongue. He grinned wildly. That's Sakai, actually, but feel free to call me whatever you like. Is that any good? Bien. Sakai slaps him across the shoulder ostentatiously. Well, Prez, you look rather relaxed this evening. I didn't interrupt a nice dream or anything, did I? I get the feeling that it was nice, but I can barely remember it. He took another bite. Feeling Sakai's stare, he slowed his chewing and then swallowed nervously, shifting his eyes between the two girls in front of him. Eri straightened her posture a bit, as he finally seemed awake enough to notice her presence. You're not expecting something in return for this, are you? Oh, nothing more than your gentle counsel, Sakai then patted Eri on the shoulder, prompting her to speak. By this point, it'd be beyond Sakai to try and recall the details of Eri's request. Excuse me. My name is Koizumi. I was hoping you would listen to my request. A request for the Occult Club. I'm afraid our club meetings are every other day other than today, Thursday. And we sometimes do weekends. He turned towards Sakai. I would have expected you to know this. I did think this might interest you. Hear her out, why don't you? We're not exactly the request-taking club. It's about time our dinky little group made a contribution to society, don't you think? Please. Eri bowed deeply, facing the floor. Looking down at her, he scratched the back of his head and yawned. I somehow doubt Sakai-san of all people would know what interests me, but I'll hear you out. Really? Thank you. Eri relayed all of the facts of the missing track equipment to him. As she spoke, she noted how the boy's half-lidded eyes grew more and more vigilant, and how he began to nod intently throughout her explanation. Come to think of it, I think that's one of the 7 mysteries of our school. A ghost that steals athletic equipment. I believe you've missed some details, or possibly added some. I don't remember anything quite as lame as that. It's a very serious problem. In fact, we were studying those mysteries, though we were going in order, and that's the 5th one, if memory serves. We haven't even made a dent in the first one. Takeda began to walk off in the middle of her sentence. Hey, where are you going? Are we taking this request or not? Of course we are, but not recklessly. Have you seen our other member today? Not today, no. Last I saw her was yesterday. Needed to fix something up, and she was completely ignoring me. Sakai shifted her eyes to the ceiling. Something tells me she won't be up for this either. And why might that be? Well, considering who's asking. She was interrupted again, this time by a yawn. First, caffeine. Oh, where are my manners? I'm Takeda. I look forward to working with you.